Oh yeah, nah, this is Rouseys Wrexham Roundup. She'll be right, mate. Well, g'day, welcome back to another week of Rouseys Wrexham Roundup. It is me, Rousey, your boy over there, Simon, aka Cryptic Construct. A new co-host, third week in a row, well, third fortnight in a row, I should say, because we're only recording fortnightly at the moment. How are you, mate?
Good. Getting very worried about Mullen. But apart from that,
Might be worth having a chat to our guest about that one today. I think actually he might have an interesting perspective. I've raided the old people's home. It's going to be smelling like potpourri and bovril in here at the moment, or a Sunday roast, because I've got a good one for us today, Simon. I've got Mark Griffiths. He's been on before. He's a great bloke, and I'm really excited to have him back, especially with this new format that we've got. So I hope you're ready. I hope you got your questions ready, or we're not organised here. We just fucking let shit fly anyway. So
homework? No, the cat ate me homework. Sorry, mate.
cat ate my homework. Yeah,
The cat ate me homework.
just gonna just gonna jump straight into it. I think because you'll all know him as the voice of Welcome to Wrexham, or the voice of the I Follow Wrexham commentary team.
The voice of Dragon Chat, the voice Dragon Heart, the voice of Ask Wrexham, the voice of.
He's just the voice, mate. He is just the voice.
The voice. Oh, don't tell Johnny. Don't tell Johnny. Okay.
So let's get him on, eh? Let's do it. Let's get him on. Have a bit of a chin wag, and see where this podcast goes, eh? Because I think we're going to try and cover some interesting topics about Welcome to Wrexham, about Wrexham coming to Australia, all that sort of stuff. We're going to just generally talk Wrexham, which is what we do. If you tuned in, we're a Wrexham podcast, so we've got to talk a bit of Wrexham. But let's talk. Look at that!
Look at that.
Row. That's perfect. Love that. We'll put that in the store. All right, let's get Mark on. Hey, let's say a quick hello and get into it. All right, after this. Oh yeah, nah, this is Rouseys Wrexham Roundup. She'll be right, mate. All right, welcome back. We hope that you are surrounded by bovril and potpourri. We have wheeled in. The nurses have wheeled in our two guests.
Before you go any further, there may need to be a grey hair grouping taking over the people with the beards going on here. I mean, young whippersnapper. You know, hang on a tick.
I've got a little bit of grey in my beard. I mean, it might count. I don't know. Getting on these days.
I'm a couple of years older than Mark, so any shit you hang on Mark about being old is just like adding up to me, just so you know. It will be coming back.
Well, Mark Griffiths, the voice of Welcome to Wrexham. And he's been on this. He's been one of my favourites. I got to say. And mate, it's so good to have you back on. How have you been doing?
Oh, thank you so much. I'm very, very well. It's funny what 3 consecutive promotions can do for you. Not that many people know.
Apparently, turn you into a poet.
Oh, absolutely so. Absolutely. And it's great as well because I've now been able to start my own shopping channel. And if anybody's interested in this beautiful piece of memorabilia, Wrexham, England against Australia in 1981, all the greats are there. Steve Wrexham, backup wicketkeeper. Dirk Wellham, one test wonder. Oh, my word. They're all there. And so you can start calling us now on 0700 554 433. The number is down there. I thank you for pointing that out. And yes, stocks are running short already, it seems. So you'd better act quickly.
That's just day in the life of a Wrexham supporter, that is.
How is it now having one of the most recognisable voices in Wrexham around the world? Now, your voice is heard worldwide, not just on iFollow, but on Welcome to Wrexham, of course. That must be such a change from 5 years ago when it was basically Mrs. G and the students.
Yeah, what a lucky world it was. I gotta be honest, from my perspective, no difference. If I'm totally honest, um, I'm not cut out for this spectacular success thing that the club's experiencing, because I seem to take it in my stride and this is happening now. And I think it's the same with me, if I'm honest with you. As always said, people recognize my voice rather than me, so I'll be ordering a coffee and somebody might turn around in the queue and say, "Oh, I know your voice." They usually think I'm, I don't know, a social worker or something. It's fabulous. It's lovely. People are so kind, and that's, I guess, the difference. And I get to meet so many lovely people. But yeah, it's weird. I'm not as excitable as I should be, I feel, in the circumstances. And let's be honest,
You just roll with it, Mark. That's all you got to do. Is just roll with it.
We've heard you on a few episodes of Welcome to Wrexham where the excitement level does get up there a bit.
I'm faking it.
Yeah, I did not know you could screech like a banshee, man.
No, did I? I think it's a crowd. Now we've got a loud crowd at the racecourse. I have to be heard. That's my theory.
Oh yeah.
I must say the Blackpool match. That was one of my favourite broadcasts. It was just the noise all match was just superb.
Oof.
That was, I mean, in all sorts of ways memorable. And the main thing, of course, was that you couldn't see the pitch. And I promise you, I couldn't either. And it was at its worst at the start, especially when the goals are going in.
Are you talking about, you talking at home or away?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, that's the whole game.
The fog. I'm not the away fog.
Game.
Yes.
Yeah.
The away game where you were with the away supporters. Oh. And the Wrexham fans in that stand, and that was just the fog match. Yeah, that was definitely the fog match. That was fun watching that because we had no idea we couldn't see or hear what was going on. So, but no, the Blackpool match away, where
that away game, that was incredible. I mean, honestly, and that's how you want it to be. You know, the more noise, the better. And if it's Wrexham noise, fantastic. I remember going way before the takeover to Halifax early season on a Tuesday night. And it was a similar situation. Halifax isn't that far from Wrexham, and it's on the motorways, probably an hour and a half. We always seem to play them on Tuesdays, I guess because of that, although it was annoying because you go down the M62, so it's a fast road, but you'd be going past, Manchester and Leeds at rush hour, and Halifax would always be an awful place to get to. So it was always a panic to get there. And Halifax would always put you in a different part of the grounds, and you never knew until you arrived. It was odd. But they had an old press box on the side. Well, basically one side of the ground was just Wrexham, the away fans, and an old press box. And it was brilliant when they sent you there. And I remember one game, we lost it, naturally, but I remember and it was just superb because we were again right in amongst them. The classic being surrounded by away fans thing was the first season that we were down in non-league. We were playing at Barrow. Now, I don't want to offend. No, I don't want to offend Barrow fans. Hang on a second. I got that mixed up.
They're all watching. All three of them are watching.
Fair game.
Exactly. Streaming it live in a phone box. Remember phone boxes? Happy day. There's just one left of our 1981.
Did Australia win that one, or did England win that one?
Oh,
England.
Oh, poor Chris.
Yeah, don't ask, Chris. Please, Chris, don't ask.
You were winning. I'll give you that. You were winning. Not by the end of it, I'm afraid. No. Sorry. Yeah.
We weren't winning when it counted.
All right, I probably wasn't. I wasn't even born yet when that was. Then when that match was playing.
Oh, well, I was 14, so I was an impressionable young Australia go beat the Poms, and yes, we're doing it, and no, we're not. And that would
To be fair, I think we've made up for it since then, haven't we?
Did you have to catch
yes,
Did you have to catch a horse and cart to the game by any chance, or
That's right,
like
and it was weird. They wouldn't let people with epilepsy into the ground because the game was in black and white and flickery. W.G. Grace's ghost kept
amazing how many? It's amazing how many kids actually think that there was no color just back in the day. I've come across that one before.
I thought it was audio only on the Crystal set.
Oh.
I didn't even have the vision going. You went to the ground and just listened to the match. That was it. Tune your crystals and put them in your ears, and off you go.
Speaking of audio only, your new commentary team of Mia and Andy is top notch. I got to say, I've really enjoyed the commentary this past season from all three of you guys. It's been amazing, and she's got a real gift for it. Really does. Yeah.
I have a genuine disregard for how commentating is done on mainstream media, and that it tends to be just spewing out the same old cliches that people seem to get comfort from. I don't know. And then, people who are the analysts, if you will, the colour commentators, who clearly know a lot more about the sport, or should do, than we do, and don't give you that. They just say the same corny old things. I mean, for example, what was it? Was it the Champions? No, it was the playoffs. Watching the EFL playoffs, constant theme that kept going round and round. All the different co-commentators was constantly, the team that's not winning has only got one player up front. They should have two players up front. I mean, that is such a naive and old-fashioned way to analyze a game of football. And then they kept saying that, and they kept saying they need to put a second striker on. And I remember people saying that when I was a kid, when everyone played 4-4-2, and if someone plays one player up front, oh my God, what are they doing? And that sort of thing really annoys me, if I'm honest. And so it's such a joy that, I mean, Andy and Mia do that analytical part of the co-commentary as I think it should be done.
Yeah.
Andy feels like a football player and manager and coach who explains what's going on the pitch, doesn't he?
Yeah.
And I sit there and learn, and I make no bones about that. I'm sitting there listening and thinking, "Ooh, that's interesting. That's a good call. That's a good point."
He does bring a unique angle to it, doesn't he? Having played, having managed, he sees it from both sides. He knows what they're trying to do and what they should be doing.
And he's always been, because he's occasionally done commentaries with me in the past, not that often, but just occasionally. He's always been, in some ways, he's been very important for me in setting my mindset, because one of the things I feel is important is to try and look at it from a sort of perspective of somebody within football. So, okay, it's 5 minutes left. We're winning 1-0. We're going to be under pressure. Okay, that clearly is a key moment. But, fans are naturally just panicking no matter how the game's been going. Whereas, in the past, like I said, I've done it with Andy. I remember a Chester game, and it was 0-0. And he just kept saying, yeah, but it's coming though, isn't it? We're grinding them down and it's coming. And it's that sort of mentality of, like, instead of, oh my God, why haven't we scored? It's an hour in. A football manager is looking at what we're actually doing and saying, yeah, but this is working and that is working, and they're not getting out their own half, and we're eventually going to make that good chance. And the same of, like, we're not hanging on. It's 1-0. There's 5 minutes left, but they haven't had a shot on target since the 20th minute. They're not putting pressure on us in a way that's hurting us. And, that's sort of trying to look at it in that sense, I think helps me to do my job. So he's always been brilliant at that. Mia is just superb because she's the same, and I think having Andy doing it with her is so good. They work so well together, and off mic they work so well together. They're always chatting beforehand, and you can see that there's a really good combination there. And Andy is clearly, just in the way he talks about football, it's sort of like learning by osmosis almost.
Yeah.
But Mia doesn't need, to be taught how to do it. She is so sharp. She's intelligent.
No disrespect to Andy, but Mia being a current player is able to bring another dimension because she's currently playing. Not that she's playing at that level, but that's still another dimension that you bring into the call. That obviously you're still playing. You're in the peak of fitness. But so obviously no match today. You're in the middle of your summer training, your training block. But having those three different viewpoints has really made for a wonderful coverage.
Well, yeah. I mean, speaking about me, obviously, I'm a machine. Very much the Rock Hudson of Well, no, the Rock Deadweight of commentary. That's a great nickname. The thing I love with Mia is that she is very similar to Andy in all those positive ways in her approach and her strategy to do it. But she has a slight variation, I think. I think she's really good at talking about that technical side, which I think Simon touches on what you're saying. I really enjoy her perspective often on the actual technical side of getting a player on the right or wrong side of you and that sort of thing. Yep. Taking the ball on the front of the back foot, which Andy does as well, of course. But I really noticed that as well with Mia. She's very good looking at sort of individual battles, which as a fullback she should be, I would, but then just because she should be doesn't mean that she then will express it in a broadcast, because like I said, you get so many players who played at the highest level, who've managed at the highest level, and you put them on co-commentary, they just say the same corny old things, but she's very good.
I always feel too that the best players don't make the best managers. You're actually looking for somebody who wasn't born with the skill and had to work to get there as the manager. Somebody who had to actually study the game to play well, rather than just having that innate ability to be Ronaldo. Bastard. It's just born with,
and that's fascinating,
that sort of skill.
I agree, and it is absolutely fascinating, isn't it? That and we've had in this century, we've had a sort of rise of the sort of technocrat manager who may even go as far as to have no background in the game as a player. But you're quite right. That idea of studying the game, being a student of the game, working it out for yourself is very, I think, can be important for players. Whereas you also get some players, and I don't subscribe to the idea that these days players can be just off the cuff and succeed. I don't see how you could cope, when you're taking on the instructions of a modern manager. But I do think that in the old days you could have been.
I wonder who the first team is going to be to pluck someone out of Football Manager 2025 and just say, right, you got a job. I think maybe Tottenham might be up for that.
After they got rid of Aussie Ange.
That's right. That was post Postecoglou anger, that wasn't it? Then I heard that.
Here you go. Have your first trophy in 20 years, you bastards. Now give me the sack. It's just like, no, what?
I don't know. It's they probably looked at Man United not sacking Ten Hag after winning the FA Cup and thought, okay, we're going to end up in the same situation 2 months down the road. I'd argue the situation's a bit different. I'm not sure what I think about Postecoglou, except that league position's not acceptable for Tottenham. But by the same token, they clearly focused on Europe in the latter stages, and that saw them dropping down. They were never going to get relegated. They could afford to do that.
And they had a few injuries as well.
Of the season. Again?
They had some injuries as well. They didn't have a full team.
Yeah. Second half of the season, they went through a spell where it was ridiculous how many injuries they had. And I mean, Gray playing so many games for them. He's a young lad, mostly out of position. I think tells you everything. They were looking to bring him through, and instead he's playing every match in one position or another. I have a lot of sympathy for Postecoglou. Part of me, I don't know. Part of me feels that in some ways he made his own problem because he he was quite dogmatic about how he was going to play, and it worked to some. It did work to some extent. I think maybe was it the injuries perhaps that made him adapt his style a little bit. Maybe he should have shown that flexibility a little bit earlier. Maybe, I don't know, but I feel sorry for him. I mean, he's won a European trophy for God's sake. I mean,
one of Australia's now best
in the Champions
credentialed.
League.
Yeah, I think probably our best ever manager to come out of Australia now that he's won that title, or won the European Championship. So certainly, he's loved down under, and so we're boycotting Tottenham for, I don't know, probably a decade.
Yeah,
quite right.
But no, Wrexham will win the title before Tottenham. You watch.
Oh yeah.
I don't feel that. I'll go along with that. I mean, it's not a 500-1 Dennis Lilly and Rod Marsh bet, is it?
No. Sure, we won't talk about us. On that front, with the Rouseys question about somebody coming from football manager, would a female be able to coach in the EFL? Be senior manager in the EFL? And what's the highest? Like, are there assistant managers at the moment, or?
They just opened the can of worms there.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's fascinating as well. Let me go back slightly, because I think the last couple of things you mentioned and that are all linked. You've seen the growth of the technocrat manager who has no experience, maybe. Andre Villas-Boas, another Tottenham ex-manager. I mean, he didn't play at all. Mourinho barely played, didn't he? And I think the big problem for them is being accepted in the changing room when you've got your player. Oh gosh, who was it? Graham Taylor, which was England manager, who was by the end widely derided and didn't succeed. I feel a little sorry for him in some regards, but he was also promoted, I think, beyond where he should have been. And part of the issue was he's basically been a lower division player. He'd done well as a manager. I mean, incredibly well as a manager at Watford, but by playing long ball football and getting the best out of a fairly limited squad. And then when he becomes England manager, it's a different matter, because you're handling the best players the country has available. You've got these lovely technical players. He's inherited the likes of Paul Gascoigne and Gary Lineker. And he was sort of, I'd argue, perhaps doomed from the start. And the attitude towards him seemed to be, show me your medals. Who are you to tell me how to play football when you were a journeyman for Lincoln, when I'm playing in Serie A, So I think you move that along. The football manager thing, I mean, in some ways, obviously, in terms of data analysis, I mean, football manager is extremely good. And a lot of analytics teams, especially before develop. I mean, these days the big clubs will have their own bespoke systems that they've created, and they will not give that data to. No clubs will give their data to anybody. But certainly clubs have contacted Football Manager to have access to their database. Maybe that's more in the olden days, more than earlier, than now. But in the earlier days of data analysis. But people who just think I can manage on that, therefore I can manage, and I don't see that jump. But again, they're going to have that credibility issue, and then the same. And I'm saying this with extreme reluctance. The same issue then faces women managers in terms of breaking down that barrier of players just having a snobby attitude, if you will, which, I mean, is ludicrous, but I suspect will exist. I mean, you look at...
I could see it being more of a fan problem than anything else.
Yeah.
It'd just be, you can see where that would go. And I hope it changes at some point, because I know there's some real good female football talents out there as well. I hope it changes, but you see where it goes. Someone will be the first, and they'll just get ripped apart by all the other fans. They rip Disney FC apart. I mean, come on, every day. So, but I'm just interested to think that now Wrexham are a championship side. Are you still going to be commentating next season?
Can I just quickly say about women managers as well? you said about are there any examples? Forest Green appointed a caretaker manager.
Yes.
Like it was like pre-season, if I remember correctly, and I think she was in charge of a couple of pre-season matches. I mean, this is the whole thing, isn't it? That gets huge, widespread global coverage, and the problem is you need to get to a point where something like that is normalized, so it doesn't get any coverage except on the basis of here's Forest Green's caretaker manager. Just mean that it's difficult, and you're quite right. There will be people, tragic people, just desperately waiting for failure, or even just desperately looking to paint something which isn't failure as failure to have a go.
Yeah, they'll use it as like some politically
Yeah.
correct ideology statement type thing, and I think that has no place in football. In my personal opinion, I think women should have the opportunity. You know, they should have all the opportunities. But I just think when you look at English football and the fan culture behind English football. Yeah, it's just asking for it. You're going to get ripped apart. So.
And again, going back to like the sort of the non-playing manager, which has become accepted now. So again, that's another thing, isn't it? You know, that barrier to an extent is broken down. Not totally, but it is broken down.
Well, but then there are some national level women managers who could take on, a League One or a National League club and do a good job. It could take on any club and do a good job. But I can't see why in the next 15 or 20, somebody lower down doesn't get a high level female coach in. I hope it happens. The women are coached by men. So why, how can it not work in reverse? And on that front, have Wrexham appointed a women's coach yet?
No, not that I've seen anyway. But yeah, you're exactly right. There's, I mean, this is a classic example of prejudice. There is no technical reason, nothing to do with how well a job would be done. That says that a football manager has to be a man. That's absolutely nonsense. Having said that, there are so many layers of prejudice. I mean, I'm sort of thinking that the cliche, but I think it's a cliche because it's true, that in the States, you're not going to get, women's football is taken more seriously because it got an earlier start and is well grounded.
Yeah.
But are we seeing women managing the MLS? No, we're not. So,
no.
Even there, it's a shame. At some point, let's hope that
you wonder
gets
that's where it'll.
down.
I think that's where it'll happen first. You probably picked it that the MLS would go there first, given their history, longer history of the women's American team, number one for so many years.
A French second division team did a couple of years ago. I don't think it ended well, but again, how do you judge it? If I'm honest, it'd be nice to say on results, but let's be honest, there's too many bad players. I don't mean that in the terms of football, just in terms of bad people. Let's call them what they are, who don't want to see that sort of thing happen and want to muddy the waters. I mean, it is utterly tragic, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It is. But hey, at least the team will have good sandwiches.
And we're in the championship. We're in the championship.
Sorry.
Let's change the subject there. Just covered up for your co-host. I can make a good sandwich. I'll have you know.
Oh yeah.
I can assure you there's women who make very bad sandwiches.
That was purely.
You're talking to a man who has done extensive research
on good and bad sandwiches. This is the man for talk sandwiches. So, okay. Championship.
Pies are my
sandwiches.
specialism.
What championship scran are you looking forward to?
Oh yes,
he's going to be doing the good
Here we
spreads
go.
at these new grounds.
Hey, look at the excitement on his face. Here we go. We dug ourselves out of the hole I just put us in.
Yeah. Well played.
Speaking of sandwiches,
so we've gone from the National League, where you generally get nothing, to the EFL, where you'll generally get something. Sometimes it's just a voucher saying have a free pie and a drink. But hey, I'm not knocking that. Sometimes they'll have a little bit of food laid out in the press room. Very nice. Now we're getting into the realm of clubs who may have their own. Oh my God, I'm so excited. Kitchen.
Oh gosh.
For us. There's going to be. Oh, I remember going to Brighton when we played them in the Cup, and it was just, oh, why can't we play you every week? It was magnificent. It was. I mean, there's a lot to like about Brighton and how they do things. So all the food in the ground was. We've picked up on this. To be fair, I think the trust looked at that and thought about it. You know, locally sourced food. You know, so going to Brighton to watch the match is like your snack is like going to the farmer's market. You know, and then there was like a fridge in the press room of local breweries, beers, and different things like that. And it was just, oh, hello there, mother. Well, we're getting into that sort of zone now, where teams that are often in the Premier League, where that would be seen as pretty much the norm. So yeah, I'm all right with that.
Do they try to outdo each other? The
I don't
teams,
think
or they
so.
just?
But I think there's an expectation of different levels. There'd be the Premier League. I think the press would be expecting certain things. I don't expect anything. I'm just a guy wandering
As long as they don't place you behind a big wooden pillar, you should probably get your own little box now with like your own servants and all that sort of stuff running in, like, feeding you, giving you drinks and stuff. I reckon, we're in the high life now, man. Like this ain't no lower league bullshit now. Like you'll be rocking up with tuxedos and
Oh, is there dress code? You think it's a championship
dress code as well? Yeah.
I have been kicked out of a press box for violating the dress code.
No pants.
What can I say? Topless in Seattle. Well, it turns out that you thought Blackpool would be the place that would be happy with turning up in full drag, but apparently not. You two are bad for me because my brain is going off in so many different directions, and I'm trying to think now. Should I tell the story, bearing in mind where you're coming from, of my sensationally good impersonation in costume of Dame Edna, because it was amazing. My dad was horrified. He didn't know who I was. Or I don't know.
I grew up in Mooney Ponds, so don't start slagging off the home of Dame Edna. Let me just tell you, right?
Right, I can see AI coming into this thumbnail for this episode.
If only there was a photo. It was basically New Year's Eve fancy dress at our local pub, which my cousins and we'd all go into. We had a scam going because they filled up their tickets and they'd only let you in at a certain time, but our parents didn't want to come in so early, so we went in fancy dress every year, and then we'd hang around by the fire exit, and when we heard the secret knock, we'd open it up. I'd gone as Dame Edna in one of my auntie's dresses, full slap. My hair is awful, and if I wash it, which is rare to be fair, it goes like an afro goes. So I washed it.
Must be nice to have hair.
Oh, top, mate. Not necessarily. I washed it. Woof! It went out, and then I sprayed it purple.
I was going to say blue, nice blue color. Yep.
Yeah, it was. I was a good Edna. I was a really good Edna. Plus, I could do it. I don't know. I haven't tried for about 30 years, but I could do a decent sort of spooky sort of voice. Spooky. Oh, no, I'm not. I'm not there. It was better then. And when I opened the door, my dad crept in first. The look of horror on his face, he definitely didn't recognize me. And he was quite startled at the sight in front of him. And I was like, "All right, Dad." And he was like, "What? What is going on? Didn't get much
I
of that in
always,
Wrexham in the
I would have
90s.
preferred going as Sir Les because you can always have a fag and a drink in your hand. Sir Les Patterson, whereas Dame Edna is, of course, a bit too classy to be doing that, but
Oh yeah,
Sir Les was just
absolutely.
he was a great man, great man.
Oh,
That's a
absolutely.
golden time of Australian television. That I mean, you don't get a better time. I mean, that was like around the time of Hey Hey It's Saturday and Dickie Knee and all that bunch. Like that was a good, solid time. Remember
Oh,
that? Like
and
you,
Elvin Purple, if you're talking that Bazza McKenzie and things back in the
yeah.
early 70s, but Philip Adams, they started the Australian film industry really, and
Aggro
put
in the
out some
morning
wonderful
as
stuff.
well. Aggro in the
Yeah.
morning. Yep. Anyway, we digress. But you
Yeah,
are,
that's it.
you, you,
Sorry.
you are, you are commentating for everyone in the championship. Yes.
I am concentrating on every game, but not necessarily for every one. In my understanding of this is that if our game is shown live on a broadcaster, then our we are not available. Does that make
Ah,
sense?
yeah.
So whoever is broadcasting in Australia, if they are
I think it,
showing us live, iFollow doesn't broadcast to Australia. Although I understand that in that circumstance, the audio commentary will be.
yeah,
I'm not sure if audio commentary will be available anyway because I'm right, aren't I? The last couple of years internationally, you can't have audio only. You can only have the video. Is that right?
well,
No,
well, as an
last year we
option,
had audio as well.
you
Oh
could
right.
listen
Oh, I
to it.
didn't realize that. Okay. So,
I
so you're
don't know
really
whether you
asking
could
the
get.
right person here.
I don't know if you get an audio only sub, but we certainly had the option. There were two buttons, video or
I
audio. Which one
see.
do you want to? Which
Right.
one do you want?
Well,
Um,
my
so
understanding of it is that in the championship, I think you can pay whatever it's £2.50 here for just the audio for a game. So my understanding is I think you can have that. I don't know if the subscription would mean you just have that anyway. I don't know, but that's my understanding of it. Is yeah, if we're not live on the national broadcaster or whoever broadcasts the EFL games or whatever,
I think,
then I follow as normal.
yeah, I
But
think it's
if we
BN
are being
Sports.
covered,
Are there
yeah,
any
okay.
grounds you haven't been to that you'll be going to in the championship?
You're asking the right question there, my friend. No.
I mean, I'm sitting here thinking this will be a stupid question to ask because I
Oh,
bet you've been to every ground.
no, I've been banging on about this. This is a little secondary reason why I'm excited about next year. Um, in Britain, they talk about the 92 club, people who've been to every ground in the Football League and the Premier League. Now, this used to be straightforward because until they brought in promotion relegation in the late 80s to the National League, it was essentially the same 92. And it was a very set, and they never changed their grounds. Now it's much more complex. But essentially, when I was a kid, if Wrexham were playing away and it wasn't close, I wouldn't go to it. But my dad and I would just go to a game, just for the fun of it, within a sort of reasonable radius of Wrexham. Um, so I got to go to an awful lot of grounds, like in the Northwest and North Midlands, that sort of thing. And then, of course, when I started following Wrexham away from home, without meaning to, and I've never sought to do this. I started accumulating, the idea of this 92 club, but I've never set out to do that. Now, the weird thing is, I've now got to a point, there's only about 10 clubs, something like that, that I've not been to. And for some weird reason, seven or eight are in the championship next season.
Ooh.
So I will
Ooh,
suddenly go, I hopefully will tick an awful lot of boxes, and they might even make
Mm.
me think maybe I should, make that effort. So the
yeah.
only the only clubs after next season, if I get to all those grounds that I won't have been to, will be clubs that are big but distant, like
Can I
Arsenal.
can I just ask you actually really quick because one of the juicy fixtures I'm really looking at is Wrexham versus Millwall. Did something happen in a previous game with Wrexham versus Millwall? Because I've seen something going on like with us. Like I I saw like an old news article about it or something. Did something happen? And can you fill us in on the story?
Certainly, something happens in every Millwall game. To be fair,
About to say, it's Millwall.
I mean, to be fair, to be honest, I mean, I've got a lot of stories I could tell you from going to Millwall, and I have mixed feelings about Millwall in that there's clearly undesirable elements to their support, and there's a reputation that some people live up to, but it's also a brilliant club, and it's a proper working class football club in a proper in working class environment, and there's a hell of a lot to love about Millwall. And when
I'm going to be stupid and ask, where's Millwall?
Right,
In London.
Thank you. So near Charlton then.
Sort of, yeah, not
that general.
General, yeah.
Compared to
They'd go nuts, I'm sure, if we said
Millwall's East End, isn't it?
Yeah, so it's the Isle of Dogs.
Yeah,
which is not an island for starters. Basically Millwall. Actually, no, they've moved south of the river now, haven't they? Their grounds was called the Den. They're the Lions. It all felt quite appropriate. I've never been to the old Den, but they relocated to a new Den. Oh gosh, yeah, it's visceral, and I personally I like that a lot, as long as it doesn't spill over into something worse. When my son was about 10 or 11, I took him to a Millwall game, or Millwall Ipswich. We were in London, and he was absorbing football just as I did at our age, and we went, and he absolutely loved it because he learned a lot of new words. Let's put it that way.
Don't tell your mother. Don't tell your mother.
Exactly. Yeah. You are very much in a football ground where everybody is living every moment and is passionate. And like I say, I mean, it can overspill and be bad, but it's also terrific in that sense, I could tell you stories about that if you. Oh, I've got to say this about my son coming out then. It was a freezing cold. It was December or something like that. It was absolutely freezing. It was a horrible cold day. And of course, all the Millwall fans were in T-shirts and shorts, aren't they? Naturally. And after the match, we were going, they were all strutting out, And my son, just suddenly out of nowhere, while we're walking in amongst all the crowd, goes, and in this cod East End voice as well, goes, the weather doesn't happen to Millwall fans. Millwall fans happen to the weather. It was both the most brilliant thing I've ever heard any human say, and the most dangerous thing I've ever heard any human.
Now we get out of here alive, okay?
Yeah. But what happened to Wrexham? I've got loads of Millwall stuff if you want me to keep going on this riff, but I will say what happened to Wrexham was basically, it's like the late 90s, last game of the season, we played them. They needed a result to I think it was a draw to go up. They had, oh gosh, this might be Mandela effect. I'm pretty sure Tim Cahill was playing for them then.
Okay.
Rousey Lake.
Oh.
And if you think I'm pandering to you now, I've been bursting to go back to Sanger's. So they needed a result to go up, and the police made it an all-ticket match. The thing with all-ticket matches is that you can't sell tickets on the day. So an all-ticket match is like shorthand for you have to have a ticket to get in. You can't pay on the day, and you can't buy a ticket on the day either. So you've got to get your ticket before match day. So what happens, of course, is Millwall sell out the away end, but that doesn't stop a lot more coming. So you've got lots of Millwall fans there without tickets and with no way of buying tickets. The Wrexham end is not full. It's the last game of the season. We're not going up. We're not going down. It's meaningless. And what happened, is my understanding of this, is that some Millwall fans basically sort of got through the turnstile. who didn't have tickets. So they're now in what's now the Macron stand. And my understanding from reading what people have said who were in there was it was terrifying. Because I remember I was on the opposite side. I remember that just suddenly the game had to be stopped because they were just charging across, like taking the stand. Now, I don't know whether there was actually any violence against Wrexham fans. I don't know. But reading people saying about you're there with your kids watching the game, and suddenly all these people are charging. It sounded terrifying. So anyway, that happened. The game had to be stopped. It was started up again. I'm pretty sure Millwall, it was a draw, and Millwall went up as a consequence. The really interesting thing about it, from my perspective, though, was how to manipulate the media, because their owner was a guy who's become, well, he was a bit of a celebrity then. He's more of a celebrity now. His name's Theo Paphitis, and he's on Dragon's Den. I don't know if it's called the same thing.
Like Shark Tank.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
Shark Tank, yeah. So he was one of the guys on Dragon's Den. So he comes storming into the press room almost straight away after the match is finished. So the press are in there. The managers are, no sign of them. He comes storming in and launches into this tirade about what a disgrace Wrexham is. They know that they're not allowed to sell tickets, but they've done this to our Millwall fans. They've sold us tickets illegally on the day of the match in the Wrexham end. That puts the Millwall fans in an awful situation where they're stuck in amongst the Wrexham fans. What are they supposed to do? I mean, it was not the truth, but the cameras are over on that side, so I guess I've never seen footage of them charging. And basically what he'd done, like I say, this was really informative to me. He'd set the media agenda, because sadly, the way media goes, the journalism these days tends to be a lot more copy and paste a statement, copy and paste the quote and put it in, than go and find out what happened and then report impartially on it. So he'd immediately set the agenda of there were problems at the Wrexham game because Wrexham are awful and put Millwall's poor fans in a terrible situation where they were in amongst the Wrexham fans, which was not the truth. And so, we got castigated for it. There was an FA inquiry into it. Wow. I can't remember what the outcome of that was, but certainly, he played a fast one there, but it wasn't nice.
The first lie, you repeat the first lie often enough, and you say that gets reported, and that is the truth, and that's what everyone then reacts to. So if you can get out there early.
Exactly. And it's the sort of story that is tomorrow's fish wrapper, isn't it? It's not something that's going to go on and on. So if you hit early and you hit clearly and aggressively and you take that agenda, nobody's going to be going back to revisit it and see what happened. And there's nothing terribly sexy in a Wrexham mess Millwall around story. So people aren't really going to go and look at it that closely.
Did you see on X Twitter? Sorry, Elon Twitter. Was it EastEnders had is it an axe murderer serial killer? No, it's a Wrexham fan. Is it from EastEnders episode? It's from something in the 80s or 90s, and there's
that's Brookside.
Brookside, that was it. Brookside. Thank you. I knew it was the other long running. Yes.
It's lovely, isn't it? It's just so funny. Yeah.
Is it a serial killer? No, he's a Wrexham fan. Rit.
So ironically, Brookside anticipated Black Mirror rather than Black Mirror the other way around.
Yes.
But Brookside was I'm
so fucking lost right now.
Right. Brookside was 1980s sitcom set in Liverpool, which was, I would argue, slightly superior to a lot of the other soap opera. Slightly superior to a lot of the other soap operas, insofar as it was created by and written by Willie Russell, who was a really good playwright from Liverpool, who wrote some fantastic stuff. I mean, I guess the most famous stuff, things like Shirley Valentine. And
I would have to challenge that. I reckon The Bill.
Fair enough. I'm not saying the only decent one. I was thinking it wasn't Willie Russell. It was the bloke who did Grange Hell, was it? Oh, I can't remember.
Okay. But anyway, he's got a pedigree.
The
There was
the
some
ones
good
I
guy.
remember are the Bill and Coronation Street.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, soap operas, I think, are something
Mm.
different now because they're on every day, and therefore they've got this constant need to shock, plus a constant need to regurgitate characters all the time. So
Yeah.
if an actor is in a soap opera for 10 years, they'll have been kidnapped 8 times, murdered at least four people, and
Poor
had to
Kylie.
announce
Poor
on
Kylie.
a bi-monthly basis, "I am your father."
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but in those days, the slower pace suits some things, and I think soap
Mm,
operas is
mm.
one of them. No, it wasn't Willie Russell. I've absolutely talked rubbish then. I'm so sorry. But it was seen as, I think, a bit superior to some of the other soap operas in terms of how it was done. Um, and yeah, it was quite a nice, witty little thing,
And so,
wasn't it?
so
Where
Rousey
this
hasn't
this
seen it. For those
yeah,
who
this
haven't
weird
seen it,
guy.
he was what
Brookside.
suspected of being a serial killer, and then
Yeah.
they finally break into his room and discover that no, he's actually a secret Wrexham fan. He's got all these programs from
Yeah.
Wrexham. He's got all the Wrexham memorabilia up on the wall, and he's not some weirdo. Well, he's a weirdo. He's a Wrexham fan, but at least he's not a serial killer. So,
Hang on a sec.
Are you looking at them half and half? Are you looking at them half and half scarves there, Mark?
Is that the sign of a
Have it
psychopath?
had claws.
Half and half psychopath. Oh, it's not one of those
Oh
Charlton
man.
ones, is it? You didn't get a
Oh,
Charlton Wrexham half and
no,
half.
no, no, that would have been great, wouldn't it? Oh man, imagine that swinging that at the circus. The, my half and half scarves. Well, like, I mean, cut me some slack here. I know half and half is not a laugh. Not half and half, not even once, as the slogan should go. I mean, that's from when we played at Wembley for the first time. Cut me some slack here, people.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, and that's an American one, which I think is kind of cool because, I mean, hands across the water. If I had an Australian one, that would be up there as well.
And is it the
That one is
Brighton?
not half and half. That is Southend United scarf. They were selling them in support of the Ukraine. Um, it was really good. Their community setup because their colours are exactly the same as the Ukrainian flag, and so they were fundraising. And it's signed by their manager and different people. And I just thought it was really cool. You could do that, and so I got one before we played
Yeah.
Southend and chatted to one of their supporters trust on Final Whistle Weekly about it because I thought it was a really nice initiative they were doing. Um, yeah,
And is
when
the
my
Brighton one, the Brighton
Brighton.
one's acceptable because they helped save our club as well? They raised money for Wrexham back in the day.
Yes, yeah, and that is because those were made because of that, not because of the game. So as you
Yep.
see, it doesn't mention a game; it just says Brighton and Wrexham. Brighton were unbelievable in supporting us when we had problems, because basically the whole Fans United movement, which was fan football movement, where fans would recognise we have much more in common with each other
Yeah,
than
yeah,
our rivalries would suggest. Brighton were behind that because they had terrible problems like us, and they found other clubs' fans rallying around them.
yeah.
Um,
My
so
late
yeah,
mother-in-law had a similar one here, Fight for Football, and
yeah,
the AFL back in the day when they were the VFL, they were they forced some teams to merge and relocate and kick Fitzroy up to Brisbane and things like that, and she supported a different team but neighbouring suburb, and she helped to try and save the neighbouring suburbs team, but futile in the end. But you gotta fight the good fight.
exactly right. And it's a shame maybe that people, I think, now are forgetting that because social media makes people much more adversarial again.
Yeah,
Because certainly my recollection as a kid in the 80s, okay, the terrible hooliganism, but then also things like the Bradford fire,
yeah,
and then uh, the Hillsborough disaster massively, I think, focused people's minds. That was around the time that fanzine culture started, and you got an awful lot of football fans who tended to identify themselves as, all right, I'm a fan of my team, but I am a football fan. So I
yes,
want to win. I want to beat my rivals, but I appreciate what we share. And a
yeah,
lot of really good action was taken in terms of football fans' rights, in terms of police treatment of football fans, different things like that. Really healthy. And you look now at the sort of tragedy chanting and things like that, and you think, oh, this has deteriorated a long way from that. Well, after Hillsborough, because of course football fans have always been sort of portrayed as awful, and I think especially in Britain, there's a big class thing going on here of, you know, why should
ragga. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And that's massively the case as well, because rugby in Britain is, I would say, very much an upper class sport, and I would argue doesn't have anywhere near. Well, I don't have to argue it; it's a fact. Anywhere near the traction that football has, and I think there's that sense of why should working class people's little silly game be so much more popular than ours, and that colours a lot. It's weird. Rugby fans tend to have chips on their shoulder about football, which I can't understand. You don't get that with cricket fans. I love cricket. You don't get cricket fans saying, "Oh God, football." Rugby does, maybe partly because that shared history at the start of the game. But yeah, I mean, it's after Hillsborough, obviously. Well, okay, the police was the cause of Hillsborough, but the practical cause as well were fences. And it was said we've got to remove all the fences, and there was a lot of backlash. You can't trust football fans without fences. They'll be on the pitch every 10 minutes. They'll be fighting. Oh, all this. Famous footage, of course, of Millwall at Luton in the mid-80s. That is one of the most spectacular cases of televised hooliganism where the Millwall fans are all running on the pitch. They've ripped out the chairs and they're throwing them, and it's scary.
Didn't Chester fans do something similar recently? Pretty sure they did last season.
Not to the extent that Millwall, not the 80s were a different time, weren't they? Different place.
Very, very different time. But I'm just curious though, like with this season's championship, and I want to sort of get Mark Griffiths' take on the old Mullen and Palmer situation, because everyone's talking about it now. My approach of it was Mullen just had a shit one. It happens, right? I reckon he's going to probably bounce back maybe in the championship, but the general consensus with how we're looking at rebuilding the team ready for the championship is that Mullen really has no place. He's going to go out on loan. I think Wigan has been floated, which I think is a perfect idea for him because it's closer to his family, closer to his kid, and all that sort of stuff. He gets to go out, prove himself in League One, and then fight for a spot back in the team. And I think that's probably what they're thinking with regards to Paul Mullen. But I want to know what Mark's take is on Paul Mullen and Ollie Palmer.
Well, I will gladly give you that. But firstly, the codicil, I have no inside knowledge on this. So just so you know, I have absolutely. Do not take what I'm saying as gospel. Do not take what I'm saying as informed. Never take anything I say as informed. I'm just checking my facts. Let's go at Palmer first. Right. I mean, Palmer has never played at championship level. Is maybe a first point to make. So it would be a step up for him anyway. Just looking at Mullen. Mullen hasn't either. I thought he might have played a little bit earlier in his career. So it is a step up for both of them. I'm going to take a roundabout look at this, but forgive me, I am going to get to the point. First things first, squad registration. So you've got a finite number of players that you can have. We are going to register Smith. We are going to register Rodriguez. We are going to register Hardy. Straight away, those places are filling up. Marriott is ahead of Mullen and Palmer in the queue, you would think. Or certainly ended last season ahead of them in the queue. How many strikers are you going to have in your squad? Out of those strikers, I would argue Smith and Hardy are out-and-out strikers, and Marriott are out-and-out strikers, so they're not like a wide striker who can play through the middle, or Rodriguez, who maybe you could fashion into an advanced midfielder and a sort of fulfills two roles. So you're filling those slots up quite quickly. So that's the first thing. I totally agree with you, Chris. I think that Mullin, I've always thought last season was an aberration for Mullin. Well, the season before, I thought he was an absolute phenomenon to miss pre-season and have a serious injury and still perform at the level that he did.
Yeah.
And especially to keep ticking. It was only the running, I thought, where he looked right. His old self, but he still managed to keep ticking over and scoring goals. I mean, that was a remarkable achievement by him, and
Well,
should
he would
never
have had
be
the back
underestimated.
injury then too.
Yeah, yeah,
You know, he's been
exactly.
carrying this back injury for years. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Well, you
And I
listen to
think,
his take in the book, right? And from his book that he released with, which is really really good. And to listening to him on Welcome to Wrexham, there's so different mentality going on there. Like I'm sitting there thinking, watching him in this interview, going, that's not Paul Mullen. Like he's mentally not there. It's almost like he's lost something along the way.
yeah,
Now, whether that be through the fact of having two severe injuries or, having, almost cost him his life, the game almost took his life away from him, because that was a very serious injury that happened over in the US. Maybe this is all accumulated and had an effect on him. I mean, it's speculation, but I can dare say the Mullen I heard in the interview Welcome to Wrexham versus the Mullen that I've read about in his book that he wrote, completely different, night and day. That's someone that's struggling to find his place and his head in the game like it used to be. That's my
I
theory
certainly,
anyway.
I certainly think that. I think what we can definitely say as a fact is that any player who misses pre-season is massively disadvantaged. That's when you build up all that base fitness, and you sometimes see players take a heck of a long time to get back to their level if they miss pre-season. He's missed two in a row, and for that not to have an effect on you, well, that's not realistic. That's got to have an effect on you. I still stick to what I've said all through last season, though. People saying, "Oh, League One's too much of a step up for him." I don't agree with that at all. I think that his all-round performances were decent. The problem was he kept missing chances. Now, this happens to strikers, I'm afraid. But it was unfortunate that I think maybe that, again, this is speculation, but you got the impression that got on his mind a little bit because, he then missed the next one. He was desperate to score because we all know just how desperate he is to contribute. He's a terrific team player, isn't he, in that regard? And my argument was all along that if he wasn't getting in those positions to score, we've got a problem because then maybe he's not coping. If he starts disappearing at League One level, okay, maybe he's hit his ceiling. But he wasn't. He was getting into great positions and it was just the finish wasn't there. He's snatching at things. That game at Burton, he misses two easy chances. I mean, really easy chances. And I'm not trying to hang him out to dry. These things happen, but he could, that seemed to be accumulating. But for me, there were good signs, but something wasn't quite right, was it? So I have hope that we'll see him back in a Wrexham shirt, having got right. But the problem is that registration now, isn't it? We've seen with Stephen Fletcher. I mean, wow, Phil Parkinson is a cold-eyed assassin when it comes to working out what he wants in his squad.
That was
And
brutal. I was so upset about. I still haven't gotten over that one. I love my
well,
Scottish Viking Jesus.
let me make Phil Parkinson's case for him, as if he needs me to. I was gutted because I thought Fletcher A was magnificent, and B would still be able to do a similar job or level up. It's a very specific, sort of for American fans like designated hitter sort of thing, isn't it?
Yep.
But in just choosing not to keep him, in a perverse way, that's quite exciting, isn't it? Because Parkinson knows what he's got planned. He knows what budget he's got available to him. He knows how pivotal Fletcher is. but he thinks he can bring in something better across the board, so that if he has 5 strikers in that squad, all of them would be ahead of Fletcher in terms of how he wants to use them. So that is really encouraging. You know, I feel very sad Fletcher's gone, but very excited. I listened to the second tier podcast, which is a funny sort of podcast, and that they give good basic information, but then they start drawing conclusions from it, which sometimes are absolutely mad. And they were talking about Hardy coming in as well. Obviously, he's Wrexham's main striker next season, and he was in. That's a really good signing. And I was thinking, he's not necessarily our main striker next season. We don't know what else we've got cooked, planned. We might go out and buy somebody that makes your jaw drop. So, that's the situation Parkinson knows, but we don't. I mean, you never know, do you? It's very exciting. Now, in that scenario, of course, it's tricky for Mullin and Palmer. I'd love to see them be able to suddenly contribute at this level anyway. But I think more likely, like you said, especially with Mullin, is the loan move, which possibly, reignites him, gives him a chance to play regularly, get his confidence up, get his form going again, get his fitness going again, and then he's back with us. Because if he bangs goals in for, say, Wigan at League One level, it would be... You've got to take a look at him, haven't you?
Yep. We can just sit there and be like, you know what? The shit one is over. He's coming back. He's going to be a man. And who knows? He might be even in the Premier League by that point.
Yeah. And I think there are very specific and very obvious reasons for him not having a good time last season. Things happen, but I'd love to think that's all part of his soap opera. In terms of Palmer, I mean, the tricky thing as well for him is you look at Hardy and Smith are both physical. You could imagine them playing up front together. Rodriguez is physical and is being chosen ahead of Palmer. He's got a lot of players who do his sort of job who are clearly part of our first team. Fal is physical, admittedly in a different sort of way, and I assume Fal would be loaned out as well, because I do think he's worth persevering with.
Well, Palmer's been training in Qatar. Like, he's been doing some serious training in Qatar with James McLean. So I think Palmer's in the mindset that, no, I'm not giving up my role that quick. I'm going to fight for it. So, which is admirable.
Oh, that's good.
It's admirable. Some of the training is quicker. Been training with some very top academies over there, some massive players. He's been really getting into it, and both him and McLean have been in Qatar doing that. I think even probably one or two of the other players have also done it, but the Instagram sort of stories I've seen were of Palmer and McLean, both of them training out of I think it was First Star Academy out of Qatar, which is that's big. Like, that's pretty big. I mean, obviously they're taking it seriously, and they don't want to. They don't want to just roll over and just give up their spot. They want to take their game to the next level, which is admirable, I think. But like you said, there are players that are established within the Championship, within the Premier League, that Wrexham could get their hands on. And experience is a lot better than training.
Or the other option is do it. I'd rather have maybe a 19-year-old from Liverpool on loan rather than Ollie Palmer at the other, at 31 at the other end of the scale. It's so long as they're improving the position, then you've got to stick with Parky. He knows what he wants.
Yeah, that's it, isn't it? You're quite right. I have had a conversation this week in Tesco about Jayden Dams. the conversations I have, I must say, I'm glad that Palmer is with McLean, because nobody wants to see an Ollie Palmer Qatar solo. You can have that as your title, episode title right there. My gift to you.
There we go.
Sorry. The loan market is. I'd love to see Palmer and Mullin able to play a big role next season. They are fantastic. I've always been curious when people talk about Palmer not looking fit or looking heavier. I've never bought into that at all. I don't understand how you could ever question Palmer's work rate. No. I mean, that guy runs himself into the ground. And it doesn't surprise me to see him taking pre-season seriously. But yeah, like I say, Parkinson has shown us very clearly that sentiment is lovely,
I'd be
but
interested
success
actually.
is not based on that. Is that?
Rathbone, Dobson, and Smith. All of them. Well, Rathbone's been in the championship, so we can count that. But I know Dobson's never been in the championship before. He spent his literally whole entire career in League One, and Smith as well hasn't been in the championship either. So I'm interested to see how those two go in the championship with that step up as well. But I mean, I'd be happy if we get Smith on the field and we get more overhead scissor kicks. I'll be like, yeah, that's all right. It's fine by me. He can stay in the team.
I mean, Dobson came through 2 Premier League academies without getting on the pitch, which maybe gives him some level of grounding. Smith's played a little bit in the Championship at the start of his career for Reading.
Okay.
8 games, 1 goal. Just having a look. That's back 2017-18 season. But that's it. But then, yeah, I don't think in and of itself that's an issue. Although I admit I did bring that up at the start. Oops. But yeah, but hypocrisy. It's in fashion. I'm embracing it now. I feel. I mean, Smith is just one of those players, isn't he? Who's last couple of seasons has been banging goals in. Well, not long ago. Sorry, as you can see, I've got me spreadsheet. I mean, 21-22 League One. He scores 21 goals. It's all competitions, 15 in the league for Cambridge. The next season, he scores 14, 13 in the league for Cambridge. Then he goes to Reading. He scores 16, 15 in the league. And then last season, he scores for us and Reading in total 18 all in the league. I mean, that's 4 seasons of consistently getting mid double figures. The guy clearly is operating beyond League One level. You know what I mean? I feel all right about him.
See, I find it interesting the dichotomy between Smith, who is having double figure seasons and in a winning team, and Hardy, who's had just the double figures in the worst team or the second worst team in the championship. So, which one's better? The one who's done reasonably well in a good team, or the one who's done okay in a crap team? Going to be interesting to see.
Yeah, it's a beautiful question, and the answer is it depends, isn't it? Let's be honest. So some players will thrive from one direction and the other from the other. Yeah, looking at all right. Let's go all stats driven, shall we? So Hardy got 12 last year in all competitions.
Was
like
he
you say, in a poor
player
team.
of the year as well?
Yeah,
sorry, Chris.
Hardy was player of the year in the championship.
For Portsmouth or for the championship?
I don't know. Wasn't he player of the year for the championship? I don't know.
No, not really.
If you say it often enough, we'll believe you with conviction. So say it with conviction, and I will believe you. But otherwise, I think I'm going to call bullshit on that.
Although there's a post-truth part of my brain that says Gustavo Harden of Sheffield United was voted player of the championship.
Yeah, well, I mean, Gus Hamer's he's got a Premier League berth in him. I reckon he's too good for the championship. I can honestly say I watched him through my years when he was at Coventry, and I've watched him at Sheffield when they're playing in the playoffs, and he just running rings around everyone. He's too good for the championship. It would have been good if Wrexham could nail him down. I mean, he'd be a very, very good addition to the team. But I mean, Hamer. What's that?
That'd be a statement signing, that wouldn't it?
Oh gosh, yes, yeah.
Like when we bought Mullin when he was League Two player of the season.
Do you think we get one this year? Do we get a statement signing either in the forward or the midfield? Do you think? Or do you think this is going to go sort of steady as she goes, good, solid signings without actually having a £10 million player come down?
I think signings can be both. Maybe that's a dumb thing to say, but I mean, I think that to bring in a name isn't really what Parkinson's about, even though people try to claim that we bring in lots of old blokes who were good 20 years ago. That's stupid. And you look at the older players that we've got, that we brought in, they were all specifically used in a way which we got huge value out of. And again, my son was pointing out to me the other day that everyone says about how we're all full of all these old fogies. And I think he says there's only 3 players above 30 in our squad at the moment. So I think, I mean, Hardy is a heck of a signing. Like I said, looking at the numbers, last 4 seasons, 12, 13, 17, 19, that guy's scoring goals. I where I think it's likely there'll be some players that we're thinking, oh, yeah, we've heard of him. There are other ways to make statements. I wrote a thing last week actually talking about the loan market and saying that, you're watching the European under-21s, you look at their squads. There's quite a lot of players who were on loan or permanently in the Championship last season. That's the level we've now got up to. And Premiership League teams, obviously, who they'll allow to go on loan and where they'll let them go depends on the player's development. So when we were in the National League, it was often impossible to get highly rated young players unless they were very, very young and way off first team level in the Premier League team's mind. Now, obviously, going up with divisions, we get access to players with more about them, like a Conquo. Now we get to the point in the Championship where Premier League teams might be thinking, okay, this lad, is he ready for the Premier League? Maybe he is, but maybe not quite. So let's send him off to the Championship for a season and then he's ready. You see that possibly. I mean, the example I gave, and that was Orient, who are going to have to start from scratch because possibly you could argue their 4 best players were all on loan. So, Donnelly, for example, there's every chance Thomas Frank might look at him at Tottenham and say, I'm keeping him. He's shown what he can do. He's developed really well. We could be in the market for that sort of level of players. So it could be really interesting. Like I said, Son, you might get your 19-year-old Liverpool player coming across to us,
I'm still waiting to see if the Christian Eriksen rumor has any legs.
I mean, my gut feeling is no. But
I mean, hey, Manchester United fire sale. I mean, surely we got to grab something from that. But nah.
We have an advantage.
If I was Premier League team, I would be definitely looking at Man United, the club that takes in talent and squeezes it out the other end as excrement. I mean, that's what they are at the moment. Isn't it? They're still good players. They've just been messed around by that club.
Do we have an advantage?
And Parkinson's always been very sharp, hasn't he? He spots that. And saying about Hardy in a team that get relegated, but it doesn't make him a bad player. Okay, admittedly, he's apparently been playing well for Plymouth, but there'll be bargains from Man United for Premier League team level.
And are we in the box seat, given our geographical location to Liverpool and Manchester? Are we in the box seat for loans from those players because we are where we are?
No. I think by that level, that's a really good point. And in the past, that's been really relevant for us. I mean, if I could take it to the extreme, in a National League, you're going to get players who are based around London, who are offcasts of Spurs and Arsenal. You saw that teams like Woking and Braintree and Ebbsfleet would be absolutely chock-a-block with players. You look at their background. He was a trainee with Arsenal. He was a trainee with Tottenham. He was a trainee with whoever. Chelsea, and then they go there. So there it would be a lot more sort of geographically based. And let's be honest, those players are probably not going to come up to us because they're kids who have not broken through, who may be taking that last signing before they give up on the dream of being a professional footballer. So you're probably not going to relocate up north to do that. You're going to stay at Boreham Wood or somewhere. And so that used to be the case. By this point now, Championship wages, the position all those players are in, where they are all firmly professional footballers, and players will be on longer contracts. So remember, in the National League, we tend to give 10-month contracts, so you didn't have to pay over the summer. So I remember Sean Pearson relocating to actually live in Wrexham from Grimsby was a big deal because players weren't doing that, and we were sort of, to an extent, limited by geography. But by the point where we're going to be paying the wages we're paying now, and the market we're shopping in now, I would argue no, geographically it makes no difference. But it does make a difference maybe in that nice human level of, do we just have links anyway with those clubs?
Yeah.
Do
True.
we have people who just know people who work at Liverpool, at United, at City? That's always, football, like all industries, always works like that. I used to remember back in the 80s, Dixon McNeil's manager, we'd get an awful lot of Port Vale and Hereford players. Now, he used to play for Hereford, so I think there was an obvious link there.
Yeah.
But he must have known people, Huddersfield as well. He must have had links and people who knew him and he knew them. And there seemed to be certain little clubs that we often were poaching players from. That's how life is, isn't it?
Well, I suppose the great example of that's Ben Foster.
Yeah.
Going to Liverpool from and getting back and doing all that because of the Ferguson connection. So
Yeah. Well, one last one before we wrap things up.
Oh, I got one.
Mark,
too. I got one.
Are you coming to Australia, mate?
Not that I'm aware of.
No. Are you going to be
commentating?
Are you going to be commentating the Australia match?
If I'm not there, I'm not commentating. I don't think I'm there, so
they won't have you sit in the lager stand with the monitor, and you'll be calling the match from.
Probably. I assume not. That's it. I have heard nothing on that front. So let's put it that way.
And I've got a question for you. Which is better, Cool for Cats or the Love Cats? And there's a follow up.
He's hit straight at my heart.
No, I have. And okay, Cool for Cats by Squeeze. We call them UK Squeeze because we already had the Squeeze down under, and you can't have two squeezes down under because that's too many two squeezes.
Can I add Samurai Pete?
Down Under is a film I don't want to watch.
Yeah. Can I just add the Samurai Pizza Cats into that, please?
Oh, well, the follow-up question was going to be, if it's not one of those two, what is your favourite song with cat in the title? And that opens up Samurai Cat, What's New Pussycat, which, of course, is a great Welsh singer, but written by Burt Bacharach. You're looking at Year of the Cat. Are you looking at where do you go? Mine is actually the Love Cats by The Cure. I'd go Love Cats over Cool for Cats, but for me they're great. Two great songs.
Right. Firstly, if I could commentate on 80s music, I would drop the football. So thank you so much for that question. Can I just take something off my wall? Oh, I'm going to regret this. Oh, it came off nice and easy. Just straight in front of me is my North Wales's Finest, The Alarm signed album. It's on my wall. Oh, beautiful. I'd go Love Cats, although Cool for Cats is a cracking song, and Squeeze were good as well, but very different, weren't they? Favorite song with the word cat in the title? Oh my word! Cats Entertainment by The Jam.
Oh, Cats in the Cradle.
I was just thinking that one. I was literally just thinking that one.
Chaplin, is it? Cats in the Cradle. Actually, that's probably a good one for the show with the father son passing on the Wrexham love and the Wrexham.
That's beautiful. If I can see your question, I can't think of anything different with cats in the title. If I'm honest with you, I'll go once we finish. I'll think of a million.
The next Ask Wrexham. Put it in the next Ask Wrexham.
I should do, shouldn't I? Yeah. That's a quality idea. You've lost that loving feline.
Jesus Christ!
Oh,
sorry.
Oh, he's gone off now.
Yeah,
that's off pitch to that one. He's definitely off pitch now.
I would say off piste.
Off piste, yeah.
Think you're appropriate as well in the way you put it.
It's pronunciation, isn't
That's
it?
just straight on the piss. That.
Bananarama. I heard a puma.
Yeah. There we go.
Oh my word! This could last a long, long time. If I were you, I'd hang up.
Yeah. All right. Well, we will end that here because we are approaching our time limit. So we know you've got a test to go watch. So we're going to let you go and enjoy that. But Mark, I just want to say thank you so much for again appearing on Rouseys Wrexham Roundup now, which is a bit different name to the show that used to be. But thank you for coming on. It's always a pleasure. You've got an open invite to this show, and I can't wait to see you when I come over as well. So,
see you next Sunday in that case then. By the way, I forgot to mention, were they called Powerhouse? Were they the super group, Duran Duran and Robert Palmer? They had some like it Ocelos, didn't they?
we really need to. We should hang up now quickly. the dad jokes are coming in
fast. Hard habits to break.
All right, guys. We'll catch Mark.
Thank you, Mark.
Commentary.
Thank you so much, guys. Thank you.
Made a laugh. Thank you.
He's a great guy to get in.
He's got a meter maid.
You can catch him on X as well. He does occasionally tweet on X, but I haven't actually seen you do much on X lately. But
I'm in summer hibernation.
Summer hibernation.
I'm like a reverse tortoise. I've come out of the shoebox for this.
Okay, all right. You got to wind yourself up, ready for the new season. So let's do it. So, Mark, thank you so much for coming on the show. And guys, we will wrap things up after this
quickly.
Oh, yeah, nah, this is Rouseys Wrexham Roundup. She'll be right, mate. Well, that was Mark Griffiths, mate. That's like, 4 episodes with me now, and we've had guests every single time. You're doing a good job, man.
Oh, well, thank you for organising, man. It's been a blast.
I was to tell you what, organising guests is so hard to do, man. It's trying to make all the times work, and we're lucky that this new time we record on a Sunday night kind of lines up a little bit better. But man, that's 4 big guests we've had in a row. Let's keep upping the ante, and let's try and go for some bigger guests. Let's get the owners on.
Bigger than the voice of Wrexham? Who are we getting? Robin Wright? Okay.
Yeah, I know. I love Mark Griffiths, man. He's been he's been supporting this show for quite some time, and he's just had the dare say it's because of him we sort of sprung into notoriety, because he came on the second episode we ever had, and he helped out a bit. So I've got a lot of love for him. A lot of love. Have you ever you've met him before, haven't you?
Yeah. Had iJazz Indian with him on when I was over there. So good to catch up.
I'll have to check out that Indian place.
Oh, it was.
I'm gonna be hitting you up, man, when I go over. I want to know all the places to go. So
okay. There will be a list.
Oh, there'll be a list. There will be a list. But we have a Patreon. We do. Believe it or not, we have a Patreon. Links are in the description down below. You get loads of perks for being a Patreon member. I'm not going to go too much into it, but we like to give back to our Patreons, and as we call them, Rousey's Rowdy Army, because we are a bunch of ragtag reprobates, as your elderly people like to say. I'm trying to get with the new lingo, It's like gotta change from my millennial lingo. Oh, it's total skits. But anyway, we've got a Patreon, and we have some members to obviously shout out. Our executive producers, which is our top tier program, gives you access to loads of extra little goodies, as well as early access every single week. Links will be in the description down below. But our executive producers, Mad Owl, Not PC, Bryant, Welsh Techie, Sarah, and Anthony. We love you guys for supporting the show. You guys obviously get our biggest thanks that we could give, and I'm going to be hitting a few of you guys up shortly, because you'll be qualifying for more merch. As well, a normal crew, a normal rowdy army based here. They all still get thanks as well. So Drew, Ben, Vicente, Ryan, Neb, Mark, Deandra, Anthony, John, Jake, the Wrexham Texan, Will, Aaron, and Josh from the local pundit. Thank you guys for supporting the show. If you want to be part of that, you want to be shouted out every single week, links, as always, are below. So, Simon, what have we got coming up? What's on your plans,
Monday.
mate?
We have Monday. I got the wife going away for 2 weeks, and then I'm heading off to Melbourne for Welcome to Melbourne, Wrexham.
Oh, you don't want to? Do you want to squeeze in a little Sydney side trip or what?
Fuck's it.
Can't be that expensive to go from Melbourne to Sydney.
Once you're already there, but I mean, once you're in Melbourne, why would you bother going to Sydney?
Yeah, but you can't just see the team once. You're gonna have to go see them again.
Oh, I ain't going to go see them, but in Wrexham. The passport is going to get a second stamp in it, so I'm going to use it again.
all right. Well, okay. My passport needs a stamp, so it's I'm looking forward to going to Wrexham for sure. But I just think if I go to one game, like I want to go to Melbourne, but it's just I can just afford this. So this is just where I'm going to be.
It's a one-off for me too. So and Melbourne being my hometown, it was okay. Melbourne, it is. Easy peasy choice for me.
Yeah, mate. You just have to swim over from Tasmania. You're all right.
Yeah.
It's a quick swim, and you're there. It's not like you got to swim and then jump on a plane.
No, just quick swim.
Just pop across the strait there, and off you go. So, if you want to see Simon in his budgie smugglers, copping a swim from Tasmania to Melbourne, or if you want to join him, even just hit us up. We'll make sure that we get you on the beach and you can swim with him.
Well, we've definitely got a show before I head to Melbourne. So maybe next fortnight show we'll have a little bit of a pre Wrexham tour.
Is there still a boat that goes from Tasmania to Melbourne?
Yeah. But we built 2 new ones, but they don't fit anything, so they're sitting in Scotland at the moment.
Ah.
But they may be coming back because now we're having an election, so possibly they're coming back.
How do you build a boat that doesn't fit?
Yeah.
You've got a fucking ocean.
I work here, mate. We won't bring politics into it, but you got to wonder how they managed to do that, but they did.
You mean there's no port for it to fit into or whatever?
Yeah. No, there's a like get in the port, but there's no docking thing for the cars to get on and off.
Oh, it's a bloody vehicle transport.
Yeah, because it's part of the national highway, mate. I mean, we're stuck down here without a highway, so it's a ferry, roll on, roll off ferry type thing.
Welcome to the backwards thinking of Australia, mate. It's rife everywhere.
Then we got kicked out of Melbourne to Geelong because Melbourne charging too much, and so there's no port in Geelong or down here that you can actually get the cars off. Or maybe the Geelong one may well be able to get them off, but you can't get them on down here in Devonport. So anyway, piss off the boats. That's not something we're talking about. We're talking about Wrexham. We'll be back.
The joys of being a Wrexham supporter. Anyway, we will be back in another fortnight's time, guys. We will be going back to weekly shows within the next couple of weeks. So I think you'll probably find after the next time we come back, we will be reviewing the fixtures because the fixtures will be released by then. But we will also be getting back into just mano weekly episodes as we build into the championship season, because there's going to be a lot happening, a lot to talk about, and we've enjoyed our little mini holiday, haven't we, Simon?
I must admit, it's nice sleeping through a Saturday night, not having a 2 a.m. or a midnight alarm go off on a Saturday night. Hello, Sunday morning.
Hell yeah.
But yeah.
All right, guys. Well, that's it for this week. Thank you for joining us. We will be there. Fuck's sake. We will be there. Okay.
That's all, folks.
That's all, folks. Yeah, we'll be back We will be back. That's what I was trying to say. I was just getting completely mixed. Not even high yet. I mean, come on.
I thought you were Australian, you're Austrian now. I'll be back.
I'll be back.
We'll be back.
All right, guys. We'll see you on the next Rouseys Wrexham Roundup. Thank you so much for joining us, and reach out to us. All of everything you need to know will be down below. All right. See you later. Have a good one. Peace in the Middle East. All that sort of bullshit. No, actually, no, there should be. Anyway, let's not open that can of worms. Let's go. Fucking see ya. Bye.
Bye.